Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So Gauri was actually bootstrapping with me also. She knew that if you had to get somebody to come and speak at a commencement ceremony organized by her, first and foremost, and then behind which there was Anish and TRI, that I cannot say no. So you should have kept me for a rainy day, but maybe this is that rainy day, I don't know. But I'm really privileged and very humbled to be here, and I don't mean that lightly. I think that the fact that I've been involved in setting up many new programs, I have some track record of appreciating what you are doing here, and I think that this is very exciting and very unique and very bold what you're doing. So I'm hoping that it's not just for that this, actually the second batch really sets the tone, I feel. एक बैच तो आ ही जाता है, मतलब कुछ लोग एक्सपेरिमेंट करने, लेकिन दूसरा बैच आएगा कि नहीं, ये this is always a little bit, तो आया ही नहीं, you've graduated 10 of them, so now the program is established. But I want to congratulate all 10 of you, and I want to congratulate any family members that are here, congratulate faculty, mentors, supporters, everyone who has helped you bring to this day. Usually I also participate in a lot of commencement ceremonies, given my background. People joke that I must have done more commencement ceremonies than anybody, and usually I get to play the Anish role. So I usually don't prepare. But one of my big peeves is that in commencement ceremony speeches, people don't come prepared. And it's a big responsibility. आपको chief guest बनाया जा रहा है at a commencement ceremony of a 2-year program. तो 20 human years have gone into this. आपने इतना मेहनत किया, तो कुछ तो बनता है to be a little bit respectful of that. So you'll excuse me, मैं भी अनीश के साथ extempore बोल सकता हूँ, लेकिन I'm going to stick to the script that I have prepared, because I think it's important that commencement speeches should be made with the formality that they are. Of course, I'm so overwhelmed that I was compared to C.D. Deshmukh that I'm still a bit nervous कि expectation इतना high हो गया है. Graduation ceremonies are meant to generally celebrate what you have done, but as Anish also interestingly pointed out, I think that the word commencement is really about setting the tone for what comes next, and launching you in a way into your careers. So before coming here, Gauri has very kindly sent me the booklet that has all this. So I did spend some time reading whatever is on all these. It's the same thing, right? That you sent me? Yeah. So I read about the districts you worked in. I read about your work in education, in nutrition, health systems, livelihoods, digital governance, panchayats, anganwadis, and so much more. And people saw some of that here. On the face of it, these look like very, very different assignments, right? The range and the diversity is amazing. Some of you work to raise school attendance, right? Some of you helped strengthen the health systems. Some of you worked with self-help groups, livelihoods. Some built digital platforms inside government. So they were all different places, different challenges, and very different departments and different gods, right? But what struck me was not how different your work was, but how similar your reflections were. How similar your reflections were, despite being so different each context. So almost every one of you wrote the same sentence in a different way, that you came in believing that public policy was like that the policy making, the planning was the hard part, right? But you are all learning that planning is the easy part. And getting people to trust, to own, and to keep it going after you leave. so much work you put in, but how do you keep it going is really the hard part. And we all struggle with that. All of us who are even building small, big institutions, you did 2 years in multiple projects. I'm building a university and I struggle with the same thing. How do you keep it going? How do you keep it going against constant struggles and gods that we also have to face every day? So many of you came thinking public policy is about ideas, schemes, programs, and that is what I also used to think in a naive way. But you know that it's about trust, it's about coordination, it's about relationships, it's about listening, and most of all, persistence and tenacity, right? So policy may begin with ideas, it may start with ideas, and obviously you need the thinking and the idea, but change truly happens when people work together, and that was the public, how interpreted your interpretation of public. It's not the governments, but truly the community, and making people work together to make those ideas come together in a actual lived lives of other people, right? In the actual lived lives of other people. Unless you take it to that level, it's all just ideas, right? So now I'm going to turn to say, look, this is amazing. And the reason it is amazing is not because what you have done is impressive, but most people spend a whole career learning this. This insight comes from spending a whole career, not so early in the career, which you have been lucky enough to get a chance to learn at the very start. And this is not now just about public policy or rural transformation. This is about life. You want to do a corporate job, and I can tell you that McKinsey Consulting, where I worked for 13 years, is the same thing, right? There you are saying, how do I make it the lived experience of my client and their customers, right? Same thing, not different. You have ideas, you get hired as a consultant because you have great grades, you went to great schools and so on, but ultimately you are put against a situation, a problem that you have to solve, and you have to make sure that it happens. So you have learned all of this at a very beginning of your career, and you please don't underestimate the value of it, right? So that's the biggest value that you picked up according to me. When I read about the work that you have done over the last few months, like I said, I feel really envious, honestly, not just because of what you've done. Of course, I'm very deeply impressed with the quality of the work, but again, when you got to do it. I wish I had gotten to do it at your age and stage in life. So anyway, that's my first thing. Please value what you've learned. This is not just a program. 2 साल कर लिया. ये जो learning है ना, ये this will change your career trajectory. किसी भी career में आप जाओगे. 10-15 साल तो हम लोग लगा ही देते हैं to understand कि कैसे काम होता है, right? तो how governments work, how organizations work, how people work, how decisions get made, and how complex it is to go from an idea to an outcome. ये जो idea to an outcome का जो arc है, ज़्यादातर लोग पूरी तरह नहीं समझ पाते, नहीं कर पाते. बीच बीच में कहीं कुछ लोग ideas बना देते हैं, कुछ लोग execution करते हैं, लेकिन पूरा उसको यहाँ से यहाँ ले जाना very, very difficult. You've all learned that. Over the years, I've built a few educational institutions, and one of the things that I want to segue is to say that for each one, what was unique was to create a learning experience that regular classroom could not teach. So a lot of people will hear about your program and say कि ये क्या, it's not a program. 2 years आप क्या कर रहे थे field में? तो you know, I'm sure you get that. Parents भी सोचते होंगे कि यार भैया मास्टर्स कर लेते, ये क्या कर रहे थे 2 साल, right? But I have to tell you that the best learning really happens outside the classroom. This is very clear. I'm not saying you don't learn in the classroom, and of course I know that you've learned many things in the classroom and the curriculum, and there are some faculty members here, please don't get offended. But the programs that really shape people are usually not the ones that teach you subjects, right? They are the ones that ask more of you. And I'm sure every day at your program you felt like you were being asked more of. They ask you to decide where the answer is not obvious. There is no answer. Forget right, wrong. There is no answer. to work with people who do not agree with you. ये नहीं हो सकता, ये गलत है, आपको समझ नहीं है, right? To balance competing priorities, to keep going when progress is much slower than you hoped for, and all this time to keep in mind that all of this is causing learning, because that is not how we are taught to learn, right? Our whole learning is to sit and listen to people like me giving gyan, but all that I have described is really where you learn. And I think I have learned that also in my education experience, which is why I'm so fascinated by this program. So many of you may be still wondering again that, what will these 2 years mean? Your families may ask the same question, and it's a fair question. This is not a usual route. It's a new program. But let me give you reassurance, and I don't think you need that, but to the extent that you do, that I have spent much of my life meeting people, hiring people, working with entrepreneurs, academics, young professionals. But I can tell you that if I had to hire somebody to solve a hard problem, I would hire you, right? I'm convinced that you don't look at degrees, you look at people who have done work on tough problems before, and then you say, look, I trust this person to solve some of my toughest problems, right? And when it finally comes down to that, that's what you look at. So when I read the 10 profiles, I don't see people who finished a program. I see 10 people who have spent 2 years working on the most difficult problems, right? I'm on the board of Teach for India. Some of you may have been familiar. I don't know if there are any TFI people here. I know there are some Gandhi fellows here. When I see a resume with TFI or Gandhi, I immediately shortlist them. Milna to hai. And I think the same thing should happen with this program also. And I'm not saying this to motivate you, but I really mean it. So what you've done really has changed you, and wherever you go, government, philanthropy, research, education, business, somewhere you haven't thought of, this experience, this very valuable experience will travel with you. You can walk into any room and say that, look, I spent 2 years inside the machinery of the government in some of the most sensitive districts of this country, and I made things move. And that is worth much more than any degree is worth. So let me leave you a few ideas that I hope you can hold on to. These are the kind of lessons that we forget when days get long and we are working. First is about paying attention. I think you all have been really paying attention. And in today's day, when everybody is talking about artificial intelligence and will machines replace us, technology will keep changing, and they will keep changing the way we work. Answers are becoming cheaper, information is becoming easier, and all that is very welcome. But there are some things machines cannot do. They cannot understand a particular neighborhood. They cannot understand the complexities of things on the ground. They cannot yet understand why one family says yes and another family says no. Machines cannot understand what happens in a room before the meeting begins, right? All this understanding comes from paying attention. And I think one of the things that I really feel that we are lacking as a society and young people, and what you are getting and that you have done, is just sitting with people, asking questions, noticing what is not showing up, and really paying attention. So I saw this in your work, and I think you must hold on to that. The second is working with people. AI or machines don't know how to work with people, and there will be people who will doing a lot of work. A machine is not going to replace an ASHA worker. A machine is not going to replace an officer who's going to sign on a file. The gods are not going away. Partner organizations, parents that you had to convince. And so working with people constantly is going to be in huge demand. And even before AI came, most people don't know how to do that. We've all worked with people who we never want to work with because they just don't know how to communicate. We don't want to be around them. So this is another big thing that you've done. And I think the last thing I will say is that leadership is often misunderstood as finding the right answer and only solving the problem. I think it's really about helping other people see that they are after the same goal. It is really about creating conditions for other people to do their best work. I'm sure people did that with you in the program. I think, again, no AI or robot is going to teach people how to make other people successful. And there is always going to be demand for people. How did you open a door for somebody? How did you help somebody discover a disability that they didn't know they had? That the problems that need solving will need these kind of leaders. So again, these 2 years, I'm sure, has taught you all of this. The third thing I'll say is never stop challenging yourself. I don't need to say that to you because you've already done that. That's how you survived these 2 years. But most people settle. The biggest challenge in building a good educational institution is people say, Ashoka is good, ISB is world class. World class institutions don't say that. They say we've never reached that. We still have to do more. We still have to challenge ourselves. So I think you have to continue to remember, at least I see what you have done, which is pay attention, make others successful, and constantly push the boundary, all the while learning about yourself. I think the self-awareness, the self-growth that you've had in the last year must be amazing. So, look, this work never ends. You are just starting, it's just commencement. But I do want to say that the last thing I want to leave you with is that as you go out into the real world, the one thing is don't stop learning. Remain curious, don't stop learning. Ask yourself, am I solving a bigger problem? And this is not to show how great you are, right? But if you are not solving a bigger problem every day, who will? And I think given the fact that you've invested 2 years, that you've got all this learning, you've almost earned the responsibility that you're going to solve bigger and bigger problems every day. And the last thing, which is kind of obvious, and people like Anish have spent their whole life doing this, but am I actually changing lives every day? Or am I just busy? And I think a lot of people are very busy. And they take satisfaction in the fact that they are very busy, but they haven't really thought about is what they are doing really changing lives. And I hope that you don't lose that chutzpah and that drive and that energy that has brought you so far. So I'm sure that these 2 years have strengthened all of you, and the best programs that I've been involved in are programs where people learn the best by doing, alongside people they love, and on the problems that are important. And so that's why I think this is an amazing program. That's exactly the education you had, right? It has all the ingredients. Today I want you to celebrate your work before the hard work begins again. Celebrate your learning. Most importantly, celebrate the friendships you build, because I think one of the things that these programs do is really build such strong bonds and friendships that these will stay with you for life. And this is the great thing about these smaller cohort, short programs, different type of programs, that the bonds you build are bonds for life. So this is not a 2-year program. This has now become your program for life. I don't think you are called Praxis Fellows or Praxis Scholars, but in a way, I don't know what they are called. Praxis learners. Well, you have become Praxis learners for the rest of your life, right? So again, I don't want to go on too long because I think commencement speakers should also limit their remarks. But thank you so much for inviting me. I really am humbled to be here. One of the things about convention, one of the conventions for commencement speeches is that you don't re-invite people, right? So I hope you will break that tradition. If you're going to do them at IIC, I live close by. So if you ever need a rainy day commencement speaker, I'm happy to come back. But I'm really honored to be here because this is a program started by some great people, It's a program that some great people have attended and graduated from. And I'm going to be watching what you all do next. So please keep the flag flying high. That's a responsibility for the second cohort also. Because people are going to watch you. So 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, when people apply to this program, they are going to see what did the alumni do. And what is the outcome of this program. So you are carrying a responsibility. You are not done yet. Thank you very much for having me, and congratulations. Thank you.